Can you describe what it was like to make the switch from Shamil to Anthony Smith in camp?
That was at the beginning of camp, so it was a pretty easy switch. Kind of, we had game planned a little bit for Shamil, but I was actually sitting with John Jones at the time when I got the phone call, and we were just about to watch video, so we just changed who was on the screen and ended up game planning for Anthony in the moment.
Obviously, you train hard for every fight, but this is a noticeably bigger name that they've passed you. Arguably, just everything about the matchup really does pay off even more for you if you win. Is there extra motivation? Like, do you find yourself, you know what, you are training just a little bit harder because it is a bigger name in Anthony?
I was trying to train hard, but yeah, at the same time, it's a big fight for me, a life changing fight, something that will lead me to what I promised myself when I started fighting was the UFC championship belt, and this is one step closer. Beat Anthony on Saturday, and then that opens the doors for a couple rematches that I have my eyes on with Blachowicz and Rakic, and just continue my journey to the belt.
You talked about how you were there with John Jones. How much input has he had on things to watch out for with Smith?
He always has really good insight, and he everybody knows he's one of the best at studying people. So I've really looked up to him in those ways for game planning and stuff like that. He's always been a good mentor for that.
My final question, I read about how this isn't just an important fight for you, for your career, but in your personal life and with your mother-in-law, and I'm sorry about that, and my condolences, but I just want to know if you could put into words just obviously this is big for your career, but obviously what it mean to you personally with the holidays coming up.
Um, and it's super tough. The finish camp was super tough to just not pack up my bags and go home and hug my wife and my daughter and console them. And it's one of the toughest things I've ever had to do as a husband, as a father, as a man. It was super difficult time. Um, but with that being said, my whole family we're all in for this fight, uh, including my mother-in-law. Before she passed, I pretty much had she gave me her blessing to go out there and beat up Anthony in the first round, finish him right away. That's what, and she wanted me to stay and fight, and that's what we're doing. And also with my wife's blessing, my wife's been so tough through this whole thing, and for just handling it all on her own is super incredible, and I'm super proud of her. So that just shows, yeah, how much my family is in this. We're in this together. So
I appreciate that, Devin. Thank you for the time.
thank you.
We'll take our next question from Jay Anderson with Stateside Press.
Hey, Devin. Welcome back. I kind of want to start with this. I mean, 2020 has been a year that a lot of us would like to forget, and obviously you've encountered some recent personal tragedy as well, so my condolences. But
Thank you.
career-wise, this has been a really solid year for you now. What is it that has everything clicking for you this year?
I believe just training and sticking to the game plan and staying patient. It's really easy when you have some losses and some ups and downs, and everybody's not behind you. And, even just you know being 10 fights in and still being on prelims and stuff like that. It's like the confidence can kind of go up and down, but just staying patient and knowing what I can do and where I can go with my career in this sport, and wanting to be one of the best ever to do it.
And I know you mentioned some rematches potentially. Where do you think this win over Smith would put you? Because it does seem to be a lot more open with John having vacated, but then you also have potentially Israel Adesanya stepping into the title shot.
Yeah, who knows where it'll lead? I have my eyes on Rakic and Jan Blachowicz. I want those rematches, and I think that's fair. I did really good against them, and until I made a couple errors and at those fights. But at the time, I was a much younger fighter and less experienced, and I believe I'm ready after, especially after this weekend, after I dominate Anthony. I'm ready for those rematches, and whoever else wants it, whoever else wants to fight. If Izzy brings his little skinny butt up to 205, we'll see what happens. I would love to hit him in the face. So, yeah.
And how do you think he does? I mean, I know it's a little bit of ways, but how do you think he does in that title shot? And do you have any worry that potentially that holds up the weight class?
Uh, he might do all right, but then at the same time, Jan might knock him out. People always underestimate Jan, and I was guilty of it too when I fought him. I underestimated him for whatever reason. Just maybe he just has a kind face. I don't know, but um, yeah, but Jan could easily knock out Izzy, especially if he doesn't take him serious.
All right. Well, looking forward to your own return this weekend. Best of luck.
Thank you.
We'll take our next question from Stephen Morocco with Fox Media.
Hey, Devin, how much stock do you place in the rankings when it comes to how your career, when it comes to how it affects your career?
It's kind of huge how it affects their career. As obviously, I'm not ranked right now, and I was originally supposed to fight somebody that was, fairly new in the UFC, and I, I definitely felt like I deserved a better opponent, someone with higher ranked, maybe a top 15. Um, and but at the same time, it worked out. Now you got an unranked fighter fighting the number 6 or 7, whatever Anthony is. Doesn't really matter. But so yeah.
Do you think that there's anything holding you back as far as what you need to do to sort of break through to that level where you are getting name opponents, ranked opponents, headlining cards?
Nothing's really holding me back. Just I'm being patient. I'm learning. I've been learning this whole time in the UFC. I got signed to the UFC after 6 pro fights, and I was very green. So I've been learning this whole time. The last 4 years, I've been learning at the highest level. So I've been really patient and understanding that. And I'm going this year. This will be my 10th year fighting. Period. And on that 10th year, your 10th year of doing something, there's usually a click, and I feel like that click's happening right now. As long as I stay focused and stay true to myself and what I can really do as an athlete, as a fighter, as a man.
Have you given yourself any long-term timeline as to how long you have in this sport to accomplish your goals?
There's not really any timeline for me. Uh, I've always been athletic. I started wrestling when I was 7 years old, and wrestlers apparently can last quite a while in this sport. You look at Cormier and a few other guys, Romero, I believe too. They're 40 or in their 40s and still fighting or Cormier was fighting, not anymore. But he's fighting at the top levels in the sport. So who knows how that will go, how I'll age, how my career will go. So I'll play that by ear.
Do you feel like you could fight into your 40s?
Yeah, I think so. I know I'm always going to be an athlete at something, and and not just MMA. Olympic bobsled's on my list of things to do when I retire from MMA. So and stuff like that, utilizing my abilities and of being a great athlete.
You'll have to tell me how Olympic bobsledding got on your list.
Uh, just because of my legs, I think someone realized the power of my legs, and somebody brought it up at some point, and like that would be fun, and just to be in the Olympics was always a dream of mine. I wanted to do it in wrestling, that just didn't work out. So maybe bobsled will. I know it worked for Herschel Walker, so kind of just a fun thing. And also I'm big into powerlifting. I want to deadlift 1,000 pounds before I can't. So especially after I retire from fighting.
Are you doing any powerlifting with Jones these days?
I'm not. I usually don't power lift when I'm in fight camp. That's focused more on being lean, fast and powerful, and just kind of keeping up with what we've built in the off season. So I do a lot of more power stuff in the off season, a lot more heavy weights in the off season.
Gotcha. Thank you.
You.
We'll take our next set of questions from Danny Segura with MMA Junkie.
First of all, nice mustache. Congrats on sporting that look. Looks great. Is this, I'm guessing, in support for Movember?
Not at all. I just wanted to lighten my mood a little bit, and maybe a few others around me. So I put a mustache on, and I know my daughter got a kick out of it. She every time I FaceTime her now, she goes like this, like, "Oh, Dad, cut it, cut it." But I told her she could cut it after the fight. So, but yeah, just something fun to do.
Nice. And as you mentioned, I mean, you've been waiting for this kind of opportunity and this kind of space, co-main event slot here in the upcoming card for quite a while. You've been grinding for some time. What does it feel like to kind of be getting the recognition, be getting these type of opponents and the placement in the card?
It's here now. It feels great, and it's all up to me how I respond to it. For me, this is something that this is supposed to happen. Something I promised myself a long time ago when I started fighting. This would be my journey, fighting these big fights and getting into the title fights. And this is just on that road. It's on that road to the title.
For sure. And obviously, you're in a 2-fight winning streak. If you pick up another victory here, it'll be 3 in a row. And as I mentioned, co-main event slot. Do you think that a win here automatically puts you in the title mix? Do you think you'd be right there among some of the other top contenders?
I mean, it probably should. Anthony came off a title fight 2 fights ago, and so yeah, it definitely puts me in the running there. And I want my rematch against Jan Blachowicz. I had a pretty decent fight against him until I made a mistake, and it's yeah. I've been patient. I've been learning, growing, and this is where we're at, and it's time.
For sure. And lastly, for me, you mentioned how you feel like, everything's clicking right now and everything's you're in a groove right now. What exactly signaled that? How do you realize and how do you know, okay, there's something different going on, the tides are turning? What kind of feeling does that bring, and what exactly signals it, if you can pinpoint it?
Well, my last fight against Alonzo ended up breaking my face, and that changed a lot of stuff for me. That took a lot of fear out of fighting for me. I grew up wrestling, and getting hit in the face is not my favorite thing, or wasn't my favorite thing. But now, after that fight, I'm leaning more towards wanting to be punched in the face, wanting to feel that broken feeling and overcoming a hard situation, just being comfortable, being uncomfortable. And it's something that I almost crave now, good or bad. That's where I'm at. And that fight helped change things for me.
For sure. All right, Devin. Well, I appreciate the time, and best of luck on Saturday.
Thank you.
We'll take our last set of questions from Augusto Niesque with Somos MMA.
Hey, Devin, how are you? Can you hear me?
Good. Yep.
Okay. Devin, you have been talking about Adesanya trying to get into the light heavyweight division. So I want to know your opinion as a fighter of the division. If Adesanya finally comes up, who deserves the next title shot against Blachowicz? Izzy or Glover Teixeira?
I think Glover deserves it 100%. But I think if Izzy decides that he wants to do that, they'll probably give him that. That's a big money fight. It's a big fight. But Glover definitely deserves it. He's been grinding. He's up there in age too, and he's looking really good right now.
Okay, I get you. And talking about your fight, do you think the experience will play a factor on the fight? How are you planning to neutralize that aspect of Anthony Smith's fight game?
Anthony's experience, yeah, I don't know. I got experience too, so it's whatever. Fight's a fight. It's a fight.
And which type of fight do you imagine on Saturday? What are going to be the keys for your victory?
Just me being aggressive, pressure, moving forward, and hurting Anthony and making him break.